when you're preparing for Year 12 and you're thinking about the things that you need to do to get ready, these are the things that you should be working towards. And if you're able to set yourself strong, specific goals, work hard, be organised and find that balance, then you should find yourself achieving very well in Year 12. So let's have a look at setting goals. When you set a goal, you need to be specific and then break it down into parts. So if you're setting an ATAR score goal, then you should look at your English score that you'll be aiming for as well, because when they're calculating your ATAR, one of the 4 subjects that has to be taken into account is your English. So think about what study score you're going to aim for with that as well. And then once you've figured that out, you need to look at what SAC scores you'll need to get that study score. And once you've figured that out, you set it down to a mini tasks again. What do I need to do to achieve that score on each particular SAC? When you're setting these goals, you need to be smart. You need to set specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. For example, if you look here, English is one of the core requirements. So it's going to work out to be a pretty significant part of your score. If I'm aiming for a 25, which is what a lot of the courses have as their prerequisite, that means you are aiming to be better than 50% or half of the students who are completing English, because English is out of 50. At my school, you're aiming for a C plus B average to get 25, or a medium to a high average. Now, it changes depending on school to school. It's different for each school because of moderation. If you're aiming for 25, that's a pretty good grade range to be aiming for. 35, you're aiming for about a B plus A average or a high, very high. And for a 40 plus, you need to have A pluses. You cannot, like if you look here, A plus, got them a raw score of 37. A plus gave them a raw score of 41. And the main difference there is that exam, because the exam is worth 50% of your mark. So if you break that down, I need 25, 25, 50 to get my 100%. This is what each task is worth, and it's going to help you work out where you're sitting. So if you, for example, do a little bit better on your language analysis than you did on your creative SAC, that's good, because that is going to be worth more of your percentage. And same with your comparative compared to your opinion SAC. It's going to be worth more of your percentage. So thinking about the scores you're getting, but also keeping it in perspective. The other thing you need to do is you need to work hard and work smart. I've had so many students who said, I spent 3 hours studying last night and I didn't get anywhere. And actually they spent 3 hours fluffing around, changing fonts and looking on YouTube, going down that rabbit hole and not really being smart with their study. When you're studying, we're expecting you to study, revise, practice and apply feedback. Let me explain. So revising means reading over your daily notes from class, summarising them and noting down any remaining gaps or questions. So you would have about 4 to 6 classes in your day. You would then need to, at night, go home and revise those notes, summarise them and write down any questions. That's what revising means. And then you also then should go back over and read over your past summaries from classes that have already happened. So the term or the semester so far, you go back and you read your summaries and check that you are still applying that information. And I'll get into that a little bit further when I talk about the curve of forgetting. It's very important that you don't just read the day's notes, but your previous week, month, semester worth of notes as well. You then should study. That means reading ahead with your unit workbook to see what's coming up in the SAC ahead. Doing this, reading ahead, will help you understand the lessons that are coming up in class the first time, because you've already had that prior learning. You'll be able to help develop concepts and vocabulary. It will help you develop an understanding of the purpose of the activities you do in class, why you're doing them. Another thing you can do during your study time is you can do additional research for the SAC ahead. So go online and read those analyses or the reviews or articles. Go on to atarnotes.com and look at the discussions on the SAC that's coming up. Be careful when you're doing this additional research that you set yourself a time limit so that you don't fall into that trap of spending 2 hours just fluffing about. Be really specific and smart with your time when you're studying. Next thing you need to do is practice. I recommend to my students that you commit to writing one practice essay a week. Now, at the end of the year, the exam, you're going to have 60 minutes to write each essay. There's 3 essays. So I recommend timing yourself, setting that 60-minute time limit and aiming to get quicker at that. One essay a week is not too much to ask. It's a really good way to practice the skills that you're learning. It gets you thinking quicker, planning quicker, and writing quicker. You can experiment and apply the feedback that you've been given and build up your revision toolkit. The other thing you should be doing is applying feedback. Don't repeat the same mistakes or consolidate incorrect skills. Get that feedback from a range of sources and then use it. If you write a bad introduction and then the next essay you write in exactly the same way, you're reinforcing the wrong thing. So make sure you get your feedback and apply it. Now, there's lots of places you can get feedback from. Obviously, your teacher is your first port of call, but sometimes, especially at busy times of the year, it's hard to get that quick feedback that you want. So look beyond just your teacher. Look for other teachers, past English teachers, other teachers that you might know outside of school. Set yourself up in a study group or have a study buddy and swap your essays with each other. Also, there's, as I mentioned before, atarnotes.com. You can look at the online forums, and if you're feeling brave, you can post to those forums and get feedback that way and give feedback to others. Giving feedback is also a really good learning tool for you. Make sure, as I said, that you fix your mistakes. Don't just read the feedback, but go back and improve your writing as a result of it. You'll notice down the bottom here, these time stamps I put on. That's my recommendation for how long you should take on each of these home study activities. And if you set yourself these time limits, then you'll make sure that you're also being organized. What I recommend you do is you set up a study timetable. This is a sample one here. So you can see before school you might have a study group that you meet up with once a week and an English study group that you meet up with once a week. Put them into your timetable. I know, for example, at my school, we're open till 5:30 in the library, and a lot of students like to meet up and make sure they get in that extra 2 hours of study each night by going to the library after school. Plan to study for each of your classes. So remember how I talked about study and the difference between study and revision. That's what I mean when I put it in here for English. That's when you should be doing that study time. Make sure you also plan for breaks. Don't think that you're going to have a big 6-hour period of time where you're just going to sit and study and practice writing essays straight, because that's not going to happen. Be realistic. Make sure you plan for those breaks. If you've got sport, for example, and you've put that into your study timetable, I know myself, I get exhausted after playing sport or having training, and so I don't usually plan to do anything too strenuous after that. So general revision would be a good thing to do after a sports session or something that's mentally draining as well. Make sure you plan in for that general revision every day, because you should be going over what you did in class and summarising and then reading back over your notes. I've also put in here planning for practice essays, and that's not just for English, that's for my other subjects as well. So I might have maths practice SACs that I could be working on, or practice questions, or I could have psychology practice exams that the teachers have given out early that I could be working on here. So set an hour for each subject to be doing those practice questions, and make sure you're not leaving it until that month before the exam to be revising for the exam because it's worth 50% of your English score. So general revision every day. Set aside that specific subject time for revision, study, homework that's been set in class, SAC preparation, etc. Set aside some time for your practice essays and questions, and make sure you plan for sport, if you have part-time work, some fun, some time off that you can look forward to when you're sitting here going, I'm so tired, and you go, hey, I'm going out to the movies tomorrow night. It's all right, I've just got to get this done now, and I'll reward myself later. Be realistic about when you need to have those break times as well. It's very important to find that balance, which is what I'm talking about with break times. There are so many things happening this year. You have 18th birthday parties, family relationship dramas, getting your P's. You might be turning 18 yourself and getting your P's and finding that newfound freedom. You have sport, you have work, you have hobbies. This year is a roller coaster. You must make sure that you don't get sucked into concentrating so much on these other things that are happening that you are full of regrets at the end. For example, every year when it gets to September, I get emails from my students saying, I know I haven't done anything all year, but now that it's coming up to the exam, I realise I need that 25 for English. Can you please reteach me everything we've done all year? Thank you. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to cram a year's worth of learning into 1 month. There are some things you can do to help revise and catch up a little bit, but the best strategy and the only real strategy that's going to make sure that you achieve your best is to be studying consistently throughout the year. And there are always going to be students who are scared, and when the ATAR scores are coming out, who are going to be full of regrets. For example, this poor girl here, what if I don't get 25 for English? I will have ruined everything with my own stupidity and laziness. There are so many students who find themselves in that situation at the end of the year where they know that they're not going to be achieving that goal that they set themselves at the start of the year, and they know that they could have done so much more. Don't be one of those people. Allow time for relaxation. Not too much time, obviously. You do need to focus, you do need to study, but if you put into your planner times when you know you're going to be relaxing, it's something to look forward to. It's sort of a motivator to get the work done now so that I have time later to do this fun thing or this relaxing thing. Stay focused on the end goal, but take care of your health as well, your physical health and your mental health. So many Year 12s burn out, so you need to make sure you find that balance and give yourself downtime, whether that's meditation, prayer, golf, exercise, whatever it is that works for you. Don't waste your mental energy and time by thinking about things you can't control or about how much you have to do. Okay? Don't waste time thinking about things you can't control. Be smart with the time that you have and use it to focus on the things you can control. I find that's a really good mantra to give yourself, especially when you have 10 SACs all in 1 week and you're having a mental breakdown. You're like, look, I can't control all of these other things, but I can control what I do with this hour that I have here. I'm going to write a practice piece now. I can control this 10 minutes I have here. I'm going to go back over my quotes. Think about the things that you can control. And if you do all that, then you should find yourself in a really good spot getting ready for Year 12, and you should find yourself having a really successful year. Good luck.